start. We think that this is the right time of the year to revisit the incidents. The orienteering year, at least in the northern hemisphere, has just ended. Our high-level events have just ended. So let's see what happened. Let's try to evaluate what has happened. We may not be able to avoid these in our future events, but knowing about them, we may know how to solve them faster and better. We may be more flexible. So normally, when an incident happens, it's not positive. Actually, it's negative. And most of the time, there are only bad solutions available. But as you may remember, Reto Pfister telling yesterday, it's most of the time it's better to make an 80% good solution right away than wait too much with and make the perfect solution later on. Preventing these incidents, an experienced organizer and many hours of prior checking is what generally helps. Not always, but it helps preventing these incidents. So let's see what events we will focus on. Just the 6 events that I was telling about. The logos are not in order. So we will try to go in chronological order, and if some of the SCAs are not present, then we will just go back at a later stage. So let's focus with, let's start with the first World Cup in Norway at the end of April. Jaska.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. That was the first event of the year, and obviously being a end of April event that had a little bit challenges on the early spring. So can you put on next slide, please? We have had some problems with the weather, obviously. In top left corner, you can see the long distance start 2 days prior to the event. The water level was like 1 foot high level. And then on the lower left corner, you can see one of the bridges going over the river or a stream. There it was like 50 meters south of the correct spot, stuck in that curve of the stream there. And then we made or actually the organizer and the national controllers made a huge job to track that to the correct position. So we have a little bit of video there. So if you hit enter, we can see a video how it was tracked to the correct position. And I was a little bit hesitant to accept that the water level will go down in 2 days. But on the lower right corner, you can see the bridge in the correct position in the day of the race, long distance race. So that was the biggest problem before the event. Next slide, please. So a couple of subjects to a good event or a perfect event, great event there was that there was an experienced organization, consist mostly of the same people than in the WOC 2019. So they knew what they did, and there was a lot of experience involved there. Lucky enough, I was having a great national control group. Kjell, you already met before today. giving a presentation about map checking, and then Jögge Mortensson was one of the experienced national controllers, and then we had one of the assistant national controllers, Monica Mem Johansen, and then we had a good accommodation. Kjell, Jökke, myself, and the event director Halvard. We were accommodated to Ivar Malen's house, so we had a chance to chat all the week and long evenings to get a good conversations about things going on. Result services were outsourced to Emit. That was excellent. Also creating the start list and helping to check those. A fantastic arena was in a K-kart track there, and actually there is no photo here. This was from the other presentation, so we didn't have the photo here. But it was one arena only for a whole event, but it was used in a good manner, selecting the terrains and approach angles for a reasonable way for all the races. And one of the achievements was also that the winning times were met, and the organizer and course setters they used a lot of data from the previous event or events rather. There is no test runners per se, so it was due to the late selection of the Norwegian national team, so they couldn't get a valid test runners in the before the event itself. Next slide, please. So we had some of the challenges there and needed to be solved during the planning and execution. And because the weather, there was problems with the courses, especially in the long distance because of that river. So if it would have been differently, I would have required plan P's and C's for the courses. It would be easy to find a way to get the course setting crew, even directing team to plan for different kind of scenarios for extreme weather, for example. Then we had discussions about the banners in a forest TV controls that were kind of spread, especially in a long distance there. But when we discussed about that, it went in a good way there. But it was a little bit, let's say, friction between the different groups of that. Start list draws that I found later on the year also in some cases a little bit problems that they were a bit late, and this is discussed inside the Football Commission and Rules Commission, and maybe getting some changes to those. In a presentation side, the wrong teams were awarded in a relay ceremony. That was in a hurry consulted, but the wrong answer were given just before the ceremony. So the teams were given in the order of the race, but not just for the the best team of the federation. Then the commentary language, since it had a public race going on there, and also a Norwegian Youth Cup, there was a lot of Norwegian, and it should have been a little bit more in English there. Okay, next slide, please. So most important learnings about this event was that you should plan for the extreme weather, plan B's and C's. Then a little bit lack of volunteers was there, especially in Thursday when the long distance was there. It got better during the weekend, but there was a little bit extensive working some of the volunteers. map printing, a lot of discussions between the organizers and Shell was a lot involved in between the map commission and the course setters, and he did a great job as a middleman. Then the one big mistake was the control descriptions. They were not according to the ISO in many places, and also the control circles in the maps, they were not placed according to the ISO, and it was only kind of spotted in the late phase, so we couldn't do anything about that other than informed in the team's officials meeting. And then, as mentioned before, the commercial banners in the long distance resulted in some bad feeling between the controllers, the IOF office TV crew, and the commercial crew. Was this my last one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Jaska. Actually, we will go through the whole presentation because we have quite a lot to make. But please note down your questions. I'm not sure if Daniel Wolf, are you present right now?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see you. Then let's go to your event of the year, IOF 2023.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Super. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Wolf from Czechia, and I worked as senior event advisor at European Youth Orienteering Championships last June in Bulgaria. First of all, I have to state that the European Youth Champs was really well organized. The Bulgarian organizers did a really good job. And I would like to thank them once more in this way. I think they showed huge hospitality, and I hope the athletes enjoyed the event, which is, I think, the very important for the youth champs. So this was really great. However, there were some minor issues and 2 complaints, and I would like to talk about and present you some learnings from these. First is the map printing quality of the sprint competition, because the printing quality of sprint competition map was not very good. The tiny details were not very visible, and small olive areas blended in yellow somehow and were not very distinctive. And some athletes or the coaches complained after the race and were afraid before the long distance, because to some of the runners the print vanished from the map where it was bent more times. It had no big impact on the race itself. All was taped and clear, and all runners had the same conditions. But yeah, there were some discussions afterwards. It was a local Bulgarian printing company used, and the pretext waterproof paper. And me as an SCA, or our SCA team, we received the proof prints on SCA visit before, which were significantly better than the competition maps. So we approved the proof prints. It was the same printing company, paper and technology as for the forest maps, which were significantly better. And teams were afraid after sprint about the long distance maps, but we tested it and tried to calm down the team on the team officials meeting. And it was absolutely okay on the long distance. Print remained on paper when bent more times and wet. No problems on forest races, just on a sprint race. We tried to somehow discuss the possible reasons with the organizers, and probably the only possible reason what we found out was that for the sprint maps, the paper from different batch was used than for forest. It was the same paper, same type of paper, same producer from France somewhere, same type of paper, but the batch was different from earlier delivery. So maybe it was some problematic paper batch is the only solution we found out. But the lesson from this case for the future, event advisors always do some tests after the maps are printed. I know it's hard because we usually work remote and we come to the destination of the SEAs, to the destination of the event just 2 days before or the day before, which is really tough to make some big tests. So try to push the organizers to really make those tests, and not only with the proof prints, but also with the real competition maps. So try to run with the map, make it wet. We did exactly this with the forest maps, and the tests were fine, and also for the competition it was fine. So until now, I don't know what exactly happened for the sprint race. It was not a big impact. It was really just the tiny details, but it caused some discussions afterwards. Okay, so maybe next slide, please. The second issue we had with taping at the sprint event. The organizers did a really good job in taping, as you can see on the picture. Can you put the next slide, Aaron, please? So that was not a problem. They really did a good job with taping, but maybe too good job, let's say, because during the sprint race, there was a possible route choice down to the riverbed where was possible crossing point, the artificial bridge. It's shown on the map. And otherwise, the river was marked as uncrossable in the competition map. And few meters ahead of the bridge, there was a crossable pipeline, like 1.5 meters above the ground, and it was like a potential danger for the athletes that they can injure their head or something like this. So organizer highlighted the pipeline by the tape from safety reasons. But the problem was that unfortunately they used the same red-white tape as for the uncrossable barriers and objects. So some athletes were really confused and afraid that they cannot cross under the pipeline. So they jumped the river few meters earlier than where it was allowed. And such runners were spotted by organizer jumping the river and disqualified. Maybe if you can put the next slide. There is a detail of the situation that there was the artificial bridge, as you can see on the photo, and the pipeline, which you can see is highlighted by the tape on the northern side. And runners actually jumped the river before the pipeline. We received a complaint, or the organizers received a complaint that there was this tape, and it was told on team officials meeting that what is taped is uncrossable. So athletes thought that they are too far away and that they can jump ahead of the pipeline because they thought that they didn't see the bridge because there was this green bush, as you can see in the river or stream. So organizer discussed this. They went to check the place, and they accepted the complaint, as the runners who jumped did not gain any advantage in reality. They did not shorten the course, in fact. So they put all the disqualified athletes for this reason back to the result lists. Maybe you can show the next slide. There is just a copy of that complaint. So, it unfortunately not solved the complaint at all, because there were very few runners. I know about one guy from Israel and some other from other nations who did not jump the river, but when they spotted the pipeline, they suddenly changed to different and significantly longer road choice, and they lost some time due to that. And there was no way how to solve this, but no further protest was given or received. So the complaint was approved and no further protest. But the lesson from this for the future, maybe you can put the next slide, Aaron, please. Always, when using a tape for highlighting some dangerous crossable features from safety reasons, always use a tape of different color, and explain this very exactly in the bulletin and on team officials meeting, what tape is used for uncrossable objects and what kind of tape is used for safety reasons but crossable. So organizer did a really good job. They did it with a good intention, but unfortunately, they created such an additional issue, which was then discussed. So this is a clear lesson from this for the future. I know that on major IOF events now, the IOF tape, branded tape, is used for such situations, which is a really good step forward. And I just wanted to point this out, that you as an SEA, it's really hard to find all such places. And even if it's a good intention, really take care. And if you have maybe not so experienced organizer in this way, try to really check this out, that only a tape of one color is used for the uncrossable. And if there is some dangerous places, use a different tape. Okay, so that's it. And I have just one more complaint which we received on long distance, which is maybe more funny than a real complaint. Long story short, a German athlete finished third in men 18, moving the Norwegian athlete out of the podium. A Norwegian coach immediately placed a complaint that German athlete crossed a small private area according to the GPS tracking. As you can see on the screens, it's the left upper and left lower picture from the GPS tracking. Organizers immediately checked it with GPS provider, and the GPS provider said that he is clearly sure that this is a GPS inaccuracy, that the runner actually ran above the wall. If you can see the comparison, there are many other athletes which GPS track was showed this, but it was quite obvious that they all run above the wall. And my SE assistant Roman ran there and checked the situation in reality, and it was all fenced around, as you can see on the picture. So it was not even possible to run there. So finally, the Norwegian coach took the complaint back, and no further protest was received. So the complaint was even not responded because it was taken back and and destroyed. But I just wanted to show you that what the teams can try, and that also such areas should be checked beforehand and ideally taped. Or yes, we checked this before, or at least the organizer, they told us that this is taped or fans, that there should be no issue, but still we received a complaint on such place. So just like I wanted to show what you can deal with. So be ready and prepared for all possible scenarios. The teams, when they are hunting for the medals, they'll try everything to have them. So that's it from EOC. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dan. Let's move on, and let's move on to the Junior World Orienteering Championships, and Eric Bobach was the SCA. Are you here with us, Eric?
Yes, I'm here, and thank
Okay.
you, Aaron. Yeah, I have a lot of things from Romania. Romania is a very big country, and there are few orienteers. There are no more orienteers in Romania than there are in my club. So, and they are spread all over the country. So they have really hard condition to get experienced volunteers. So yeah, I give some examples, I think. And I'll go through the competition in chronological order. And the first competition was individual sprint. And the first case was at the transport from the accommodation to the quarantine zone. And the runners had to use the transportation that was provided by the organizers. And there was 3 places where the bus departed from. And the first bus at every place didn't show up, or didn't show up at the right place. I'm not quite sure what happened, but we started with the teams that had small buses close to the pickup place, used the buses and transported as many runners as possible, and the rest was asked to walk to the quarantine zone. It was not that far away. It was maybe 15 minutes walk. So yeah. The next thing was the organizers want to register who went into the quarantine zone. But the organizers had only one paper with all the names and a young girl sitting there and should register the name. And there was a large queue for going into the quarantine zone, and they were there. It was a hot day and standing in the sun. But my assistant asked them to drop that registration and let all in, so it was okay. There was no complaint after that afterwards about this. And then when the runners should go to the start, they met a clock at -3, -2, -1, and at the start. But all that clocks was not synchronized. So in the end, every runner about 3 minutes late at the start. They found out that when the tracking system started, then they could see they didn't start at the right time, and then they fixed it in the timekeeping system. I was at the finish area and I asked them, where are you secondary timekeeping system? How is it working? And they told me, but I forget to ask them, have you also started it? But they didn't. So 2 runners missed the correct finish time because there was a problem with the primary finish time at the finish line, and the secondary wasn't running. So yeah, we couldn't find the finish time, and the solution was that they found out that it was only a short run-in, and they found out that nearly every boy used 9 seconds from the last control to the finish. And then they put 9 seconds for those 2 runners. That's not a good solution, but otherwise we have to cancel the whole competition. And I can tell you that the 2 runners missing the finish time wasn't in top 20. So we let it be there, and there was no complaint. Maybe no one noticed it. So yeah, they couldn't complain about it. And then there was a problem with the SI cards. They were configured differently. Some gave 3 bip to approve the punching, and some gave only 1 bip. So there was a discussion between runners that it was hard to hear if they gave any feedback from the punching. Then there was a complaint about 2 controls that was placed too close to each other. As far as I have measured, is about 20 meters between those. I can see, Aaron, have you changed this to 15 meter? I think I wrote 20. Okay.
No, it's 20 here. Here it's 20.
Okay, it's 20, and
Yeah.
yes, the rules is the straight line. Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So the minimum running distance is only 20 meters because you can run straight between those 2 controls. But I think they are so obvious that to find the right control here. So yeah, the one who complain about this has an advantage of taking the wrong control. So yeah, so it was the complaint was rejected. So and they don't go further. There was no protest at this. I think I have to go further with the next competition. Yes, the sprint relay. Because of the different setup of the SI card, the organizer decided to make a test when the runners were going into the quarantine zone. So there was a clear and check and a test, and if there were any problem with the SA card, they could go to the timekeeping and get another SA card, because at that moment they didn't know why they were complaining about the SA card. They couldn't hear a confirmation of the punching. So, but they found out that they were set up in a different way, and then reconfigured it, and everyone has fine SI card. But at the entrance to the quarantine zone, there was a clear and check and test, and then they turn off this touchless mode, so they save the battery. And one runner didn't clear the check again when she went to the start, and therefore she missed the first. The first 2 or 3 controls, and she complained because she said that the organizers has told her to turn off the SIAC mode, and she didn't notice that at the first 2 controls. And that led to a protest, and it was rejected. The jury said that the organizers had made some mistake to told her to turn off this the touchless mode, but didn't told her that she should clear the check again when she went to the start. But they rejected the protest because they couldn't approve that they couldn't verify that she had been at the right controls. Okay, then at the middle distance, I can't remember how I put the transport plan from the quarantine to the pre-start. Haven't I put that on? Okay, maybe. But the runners with the latest start arrived at the pre-start only 25 minutes before their start time. And the organizers made the transport plan just before the team official meeting. So it was not checked by anyone, not by me or anyone else. And they have made some mistake in it. Suddenly there was a 10-minute delay in the transport plan that was not intended. So it gave some problem. Before the sprint, we checked all the maps, and at some area the color was missing, and in some building there was a shadow, and in the middle of that shadow there was a black dot. And there was one one map we was presented by the teams. There was a black dot. It's in the map at the right, and the team has tried to scrap it away to see if they could remove that black dot. So it was more visible when the runner were in the forest than you see here. And the runner thought that she could find a boulder and the control should just be placed beside that. And at the left, you can see the right map. So yeah, we haven't checked. Yeah, we can't check everything at all maps. But after this, before the long distance and the relay, we checked every circle to see if there were any problem there. We have checked every map at all the competitions, but yeah, we have not seen this problem. But it was only a small, complaint. This was not an official complaint. It just show us the map. The runners were a little bit worried about the map before the long distance. Let's say the organizers had choose to use a certified printing company, and they printed at plastic paper. So it should be as was recommended at our seminar in Italy in the spring. But at the team official meeting, the teams really want to have it put in plastic bags too. And we decided that the runners could choose if they want to run with a plastic bag or without the plastic bag. Let me say, it was not, the plastic bag was not that good. So I don't like to set that everyone should run with a plastic bag, but the runner could choose to use a plastic bag or not. And here you can see a problem with a boy that choose to run without plastic. But I hope he really has passed these controls before it was look like this. But I don't know. There was no complaint about it afterwards. So yeah. At the relay in the forest, we have a situation where the leading women's team didn't punch the control at the end of the mandatory route at the last leg. And the complaint was that the marked route stopped too far from the control. I can say when the marked route stopped, the control flag was just in front of the runner, and it was an open grassland, and there was a path through the grass just to the control. The protest was rejected. I don't think there is nothing in the rules that tells how far from the control is accepted to stop the marked route. But it was, I think it was very obvious that the control, she should take that control. And there was a video. I don't think the jury used that video because the protest was against the marked route. But that video show that the Swedish runner just run past the control, and she didn't reach out to punch the control, and she didn't listen to the SA card, and so she just think that she shouldn't punch that control. So yeah, it was it was the last thing I have at my presentation. There was many small issues, I think, but yeah, and we tried to solve it as best as we could, and I think it was everyone was agree with us, and we didn't hear anything about it afterwards. All these.
Well, thank you, Eric. And I certainly saw throughout the year that you have done a really good job. And it's always hard to work with a not so experienced organizer. But this year, for the World Championships, me and Sege Strutz have had the possibility to work with probably the most experienced organizer in Switzerland in Flimslax for the World Championships, and the event went really well. Still, we had some some small issues, and these can be really small issues. We just wanted to collect them and tell you about them. The model event maps, they should, if you have digitally printed and offset printed maps, the model event maps should also be printed in both ways. But actually, all of our model event maps were printed offset, like, and we didn't have any, like the relay map that was printed digitally. We found out later that the warm-up and cool-down maps were printed digitally, so we just told the teams in the team officials meeting to use them as model event maps for the relay maps, just for the printing. The GPS watches were once again raised as a problem. Some people wanted to run with GPS watches, which was not possible. We had a small issue at the prize giving ceremony with one competitor refusing to shake hands with one of the people who gave the prizes, and I had to negotiate a bit between the team and the IOF. Some GPS devices didn't work correctly. You may have noticed Tove Alexandersson's GPS device at the long distance competition just froze at some point, and there were also others. The solution was to switch on the GPS devices quite some time before the start and in open terrain, and then they worked. And the other thing was to let the GPS devices stay on probably an hour after the finish. If they, yeah, this is what I received as advice to do with GPS devices that don't work. And also as a general issue, the punching stand on the last control, or the arena passing control, this was the same. This should have been placed to allow passing on both sides and to be more visible. Especially in the long distance race, some athletes did pass this control without punching because it was in the curve and it was not visible from further out. This was more of a nuisance than a real problem, but it was still seen as a suboptimal solution. Going to the competitions in the middle distance, we didn't have a lot of issues, but there's still a few interesting issues. Of course, the place of the pre-start is kept secret, but as for both races, for both the middle qualification and the middle final, the pre-start area was just at the edge of the embargoed area. For the middle qualification, it was also at the edge of a training area. We know that some teams have seen the pre-start the day before, and we got information about this. So we decided to publish the location of the pre-start in the team officials meeting. So it was known a bit before what we wanted. Both in the middle qualification and the middle final, from the quarantine area was in the village of Flims, and the runners from the pre-start, from the quarantine to the pre-start, went through the village and could have met some spectators. I also saw some of them meeting spectators in the middle final. But in the middle qualification, this way from the quarantine to the pre-start was even longer, and it was not really a quarantine area in the sense that it was not completely closed between the spectators and and the competitors. Fortunately, we didn't hear about any incidents with the spectators giving any information to the runners. In both the middle qualification and the middle final, the winning times were longer than expected, were longer than the 25 and 35 minutes. Especially for the middle final, where we had the winning times of about 38 minutes instead of 30 to 35 minutes. Then the bulletin stated they should have been 34 minutes. This was a bit my mistake for the middle final. I had the feeling that they will be longer, but I didn't feel that the courses should be shortened. The organizer thought that the winning time will be 34 minutes, and I accepted what they thought about it. We didn't have test runners either in this area. Many competitions have been completed in the past years, and also previous data was available. And if we had to shorten the courses, then the only way to shorten the courses were from the more technical parts. And in the end, it was I didn't push for the courses to be shortened. In the middle qualification, we had a somewhat confusing last control. In the team officials meeting, it was said that it was the last control was on the Capricorn. There were 2 Capricorns in the end in the field, and a few runners did run to the wrong Capricorn. In the middle final, if you know the rule, it says that there shall be a maximum of 60 runners in the men's final. But on the last qualification spot, there was a dead heat. The rules say that after some runners, you have to look at the best runner from each nation, and if and you should look at what placing are they in their qualification heat. Now we had the Dutch runner and probably a Chinese runner on the 34th place in separate qualification heats. And that's why both of them should have qualified. And then some runners were annoyed who didn't qualify, like the Korean runner, the North Korean runner, and so on. So we had to explain this several times. In the middle final, somehow there was wrong information published in the local app, the LAX app. It said that for the middle final day they will close the northern side of the lake. This was never. I mean, close the northern side of the lake for the tourists. This was never the case. They were closing the north side of the lake for the orienteers. They didn't want us to mix up with the tourists. But the we then decided to play along with this, and I was I was in the lead in this playing along. By this time, the competitors had got a lot of information, got a lot of unwanted information from the organizers. They found out some things that were anyway published in certain places. So that's why we decided to play along and publish this information that the north side of Lake Kauma was closed for this day. We also said no comment on this. So we didn't say that it was closed. We just disclosed this information from the LAX app that the northern side of the lake was closed. And then we had a complaint in the middle final from Portugal. They claimed that the Brazilian girl was following the Portuguese girl throughout the course. Now this complaint, I got to know about this complaint well after the flower ceremony. This complaint was received by the event director through email, and being really late, probably 1.5 hours after the results were deemed official. And you know that there is a time limit for complaint. And then again, during the competition, you can't really expect that the event director is reading through her email. So this complaint was rejected for this reason. Moving on to the long distance, Reto Pfister yesterday talked about the weather, and some days before the long distance competition, the weather looked quite bad. There was a high risk for thunderstorms and lightning. That would have meant that the cable car would not be running. It didn't. This was the situation the day before when my assistant Sege wanted to go up with the cable car, and they stopped the cable car for several times for 30 minutes. But some days before the competition, it became clear that the thunderstorms and the lightning will not be an issue. This was, of course, also a competition that was. The beginning was taken place in the meadows with no trees. So with lightning, it might have been quite dangerous. You may have heard that 2 days of the Swisso week were also called off because of these conditions. I remember 2 years before VOC, I asked about this possibility, and I was told that middle of July is quite early in the season, and the thunderstorms come later in the season, and this was also a reason why we did the competition starting at 9 o'clock, so not in the evening to go away with to avoid the thunderstorms and the lightning. In the end, this was not a problem, but this was a huge issue from 2 to 5 days before this competition. Then we had the map change in the long distance competition. The competitors were not told where it was in the course, and it was not really needed for the competition map. So the whole course could have fitted in the competition map. The only reason we wanted to do this map change was that after the map change, the terrain and the course was very different to the first part. And we wanted to surprise the runners. The runners were surprised. There was a very decisive route choice in this second part of the course. Was it fair? I would say it was not entirely fair. The other problem was that it was very close to the accommodation sites. 100 meters from one of the accommodation sites. And when the competitors who were watching the competition from their computers found out this, of course, they went down to this map change site to cheer for their teammates. And once again, information could have been handed over here. We tried to avoid the situation, and I think we managed that, because in the end there were really a lot of bad route choices. Another issue was that a lot of the course was on marked route. We still saved the arena passage, which I think was okay. And then we had a complaint from Colombia. Once again, a quite strange case. She broke her compass before the start. She discovered it at -2 minutes. Then the organizer decided that she can go back and get a new compass. And then she was let to start 13.5 minutes after her ordinary start time. In the end, she was probably 5 or 8 minutes after 4 hours, which is the competition time, which is the maximum running time. So she was over time. The organizer thought that this was the fault of the competitor and not of the organizer, and decided that she will not be given a new start time. And then the Colombians complained, because without this extra 13.5 minutes, she would have gotten a result. And then the complaint was turned down, and there was no protest. I was most calm before the relay competition. I thought that we thought this through very well, but we had the most issues in the relay competition. Reto Pfister talked about this incident in the men's relay competition, when one of the second leg runners in the men's class had this incident when he collapsed due to a heat stroke. And Reto has talked quite a lot about this. I want to talk about this a bit from a rules perspective. He was carried on a stretcher through the finish line in the last probably 20 meters. It may have been 40 or may have been 10 meters. But in the last meters, after losing probably 5 minutes in front of everyone's eyes. And then I have some questions which we in the IOF have talked through quite extensively. Was this the right thing to do from the first aid crew? Well, from a humanity perspective, certainly they should have collected the runner, although they couldn't have done this according to the text of the rules. But we certainly thought that this was the only way to do this. This is why the new rule 26.15 was born, which says that the organizer has the right to withdraw a competitor from the competition. The other question is, was it fair not to disqualify the Danish team since they received assistance? So rule 1.1 says that the competitor has to complete the course with no assistance other than the map and the compass. He clearly received assistance and thus should be disqualified. Rule 2.7 also says that sporting fairness must be the guiding principle when looking at the rules. And Rule 26.10 says that a competitor may be disqualified for a rule breach in the rules. And the organizer decided, of course, not in such a methodical way that I'm telling you right now. It was more like a matter of seconds or minutes to make a decision on such an issue, that the Danish team shouldn't be disqualified. They finished 15th in the end. Okay, we had several problems with the quarantine. The quarantine was the after finish zone, team zone. And we heard afterwards that some competitors who were talking to media were asked strange questions. What do you think about your route choice from this control to this control where you lost 2 minutes? And this is some kind of information that you can tell to your teammate who hasn't run. We evaluated the situation with the organizer, and afterwards, and clearly only afterwards, decided that if we had to do it next time, it would most probably be in a different way. So the quarantine and the after finish team zone would be different. We had more quarantines with the more problems with the quarantine when some spectators escaped into the quarantine from outside. The quarantine was just below an ice rink, so it was nice and cold, while it was quite hot outside. So some spectators found a hidden door and got into the quarantine, but in a very short time they were put outside. The other problem was the coaching zone was very close to the spectators, so it was not really away from the spectators. Some information could have been given out. There were some incidents in the run out during the women's relay that was too narrow. At least one competitor stumbled, another competitor got slightly injured. We had longer winning times than expected. The area was physical, too physical, but this was the only place to do this, to use the same arena for 3 races and save significant costs. And then we almost had to modify the women's start time during the competition, which was risky, as there were several other factors that were relying on this. There was a very small warm-up area, and a lot of effort was put into hiding the big screen so the competitors don't see it before running. And it was difficult to close the finish. There were still competitors out. So we had a mass start for the slow running teams, and from one team, the second and third runners went out at the same time with this slow running mass start. Their first runner was already mispunched in the finish when they were waiting for them. So how long do you wait for these runners? And the prize giving ceremony, the flower ceremony was over for 1.5 hours, and we were still waiting for them. In the end, I decided that we just get them in. We had a lot of things to do. We couldn't start dismantling the arena and so on. So this is a decision that you sometimes have to make. Okay, and that's all from me. And let's move on to the next event, which was just 3 weeks later in the Czech Republic, World Cup in Czechia in the Liberec region, and Jerzy Antonovic was the senior event advisor. Over to you, Jerzy.
Thank you, Aaron. Hello, my name is Jerzy Antonovic. I'm from Poland. I was senior event advisor at World Cup in August in Czech Republic. Generally, that was very good and interesting competition. I have got a lot of positive feedback from these coaches and these competitors. But yes, of course, but we have few issue during the preparation and during the competition. So I share with you the most important. First was the decision about change the arena for the forest competition. That information we have got about 6 weeks before the competition. That was after the bulletin 3 was published. That was after my second visit, and that was after the national controller visit the terrain, but about some permission was down, so they organize must find the backup, use the backup arena. But generally, this is, you know, when we arrive first time to the competition, first we check the arena proposal and then we agree. And now the organizer must change the arena. Just close the competition. This is impact for a lot of tasks important. First is the courses. Second is the arena production, TV production, marketing. Start for the long distance and quarantine. So the public competition was the next. I back to this topic, and of course some small like the parking issue. But generally that was first what is important. So was the communication. Communication without the organized team and together with me was excellent. We were on the contact from the beginning. My job, so we meet online many times, so that was easy. Organize some. Just we organized few meetings with the IOF Secretariat TV with some main organizer, and we try find the best solution and how organize this changes. That was some important about the public competition. The public competition because they must change the program, so must change this 2 distances on the Saturday and Sunday, and must organize extra transport for the public people, so they cost a lot of preparation. But was the generally that was impact on the last part of the courses, so was little bit longer, like the first was done. So was the map was review for the map makers, the course setter prepare some proposal, the national controller together with the technical director Dan Wolf present on our meeting. So just check in the terrain and decide about the final proposal. So we can just on the online meeting, we check all these possibilities and we agree, I agree with the final proposal. This was some few tasks to do with the TV. You know how long cost preparation TV controls, fiber channel, roads in the forest, the TV Obi-Wan, the position. So must change this part of this preparation. And but yes, was fixed. So was the information was added in the next version of the bulletin 3. So generally the arena was very good, and I have got some question. How was the first arena? So the backup arena was so beautiful, but that was so the really the organizer have very big experience, so manage this topic. But sometimes happens, so you must be prepared for this task. Next, small was accept longer winning time in the sprint relay because about the course, about the prepare the interesting course for the runners, about the TV, about the marketing, about the second loop. So was a lot of tasks together. So we expect longer time, but the organizer together with the TV IOF decide, so they start 5 minutes. I remember 5 minutes early the TV coverage, and the start was 5 minutes early, so was okay. So the finish was in the TV window because it's very important. So we have the competition finish in the at the flower ceremony in the TV windows. Next 2 days, that was at Monday, yes, and Wednesday was the sprint competition. The staff from the marketing, putting the marketing banners from this IOF, find some mistake on the maps because we stay on the same hotel. So I just inform me directly, contact with the race director, the technical director, and they decide, the organizer decide about the reprinting the sprint map. That was important place. Probably that will be some protest or cancel the competition because was just close the controls and was the same and was close the TV control. So was some really important things. We talk about some solution, but the best was the reprinting the maps. Okay, we are happy because the competition was in Czech Republic. The print office was in the Prague, so was 100 kilometers. The print office was prepared for any issue and reprinting the maps for this whole week, so they can do this just in the few hours, and next day the maps arrive, so was double check. But important is the communication with the all, not only the mine organizer, but if you have a lot of IOF staff now on this high level competition, or we have TV staff, so stay in contact and they really sometimes help find some issue. Long distance start time. After decision about the TV window for the TV broadcast, and after the preliminary entries and follow the rules and the special rules, the organizer said, okay, but for the women, probably they will have the first woman must start about 7 a.m. So they must leave the hotel at 5 morning. So it was very, very early. We discussed a lot of possibilities together with the Photo Commission and together with the Rules Commission. And for the women, we find, I think, the best solution. So we, after first 70, we have the red group, and then after the red group, we have the rest women. For the men was no impact, so they can follow like in the special rules. The organizer request the IOF about change the special rules, and the rules was changed, so they can use the special rules. The second was use the, this is very interesting, use the embargo after finish, use the embargo quarantine after the finish, so they can, for the late starters runners, they have more time morning, they don't need so early arrive to the quarantine. And the last, not issue, but I think interesting from our senior event advisor perspective. This is about the Radek Nowotny. Radek Nowotny was course setter for the sprint relay and middle distance. From the last year, Radek Nowotny is the coach of the Austrian national team. From beginning, for me was clear because the organizer informed who is course setter for the all races. We know Radek Nowotny about the career and about the working, so they always follow this fair play rules, but was not published before in the bulletin. Second and third was not published information about the course setters. So this is my request, because it's not clear in the rules now, but to you publish from the first bulletin, publish all information about the course setter, about the map maker. But the organizer on the first team leader meeting informed about this just was the perfect information with the all information what was needed for this team. Was no complaints, was no additional questions from the team during the whole week the competition. And generally, I know so this topic is investigated by the IOF ethics panel. I know so the report was done, but I have got any information more to this moment. So I don't know. So we wait for this some more comments from this side, but from this competitors and from this coaches was no any more requests during this competition. So I repeat, and generally during the competition we have got any complaints and of course any protest. Was one referee request, but I think if we have time, so Aaron, back to this topic. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jerzy. We are running a bit late on time, but we are on to our last event, and this was the European Orienteering Championships in sprint in Italy in October, and Jari Kymäläinen was the SCA. Welcome, Jari.
Good afternoon, everybody. Aaron, you may proceed. Next one, please. Well, the previous picture, of course, showed the arena standards, and that's one thing that many events have been discussing. The start early discussions with the office and so forth to make sure that we conform the standard of the World Cup rounds. Well, anyways, a very picturesque area for the TVs and the viewers. That was obviously very, very nice. Same with the sprint relay and the knockout sprint. For the winning times, we already heard today that some cases we actually overrun the window of allowed times, and that was the theme for the course setters at the early days already. And I guess many of you online today remember study made from 2022 that more than 2/3 of the courses overrun the time. So we were aiming, or the organizer were aiming towards the lower part of the window, and I think very well succeeded. One qualification race for the men was like a minute and a half short. Otherwise, all good, and no issues with the TV windows and missing some important message to the viewers. Very competent team, actually managed to fix many things, but same token, it's the too few and too many tasks. So that was a risk of its own, and I think I keep hearing that the smaller federations seem to face the similar issues over and over again. Very good TV production. Actually, it took a little while and had to do many meetings, many visits, and so forth until it was managed. But I hope that the end result was good for those who were not at that site. And the marketing was good. Of course, the social media was the art of its own. Many of you have seen that. But the importance in the Italian bureaucracy, which was something totally new to me, it took its time, and we had a very good event director for that, and thanks for that. I don't know if many other people could have managed that, and during the election years and the political years were raising, and to make sure that we still had. And as an example, I had to be, or managed to be, in the 3 meetings where the same discussions were discussed over and over again, how and whether we get access to the terrains. So that's probably another issue which we may see on the next one. Aaron, please. Yes, the number of volunteers was an issue, and actually that was so big issue at early days that the event program had to be planned according that where can we get the most volunteers. And then well, actually happened then that the city Verona city sprint final didn't allow us to go for the desired date, and we organizer had to ask even event supervisory board working for the commission change the competitions within a week, such that we played the lowest risk possible. And even without that change, things happened that the organizer didn't get enough volunteers, and thanks to international orienteering friends, I realized that many of you online, Jörgen, Ivar, Ulu, online today. Thanks to you and your friends, you brought 20 people into this most risky sprint final. I don't know what would have happened without your help in that particular event. No matter how safe and simple the course setters tried to make it, low risk, but there were areas that your hand was just, I'd say, invaluable. Thank you again. Local terrain permits I already mentioned. So the cities with the good intentions and some permits were given originally with the wrong people, lower ranked people, which then people on a higher in the organization had to overrule, and negotiations went on and off. So that was difficult. And the other thing was, and it's probably important to notice that these kind of places like Verona, it's alone the sprint final Verona Arena, where we had the sprint final arena, organizer had to get permits from 8 different authorities. So there are museums and UNESCO heritages and the police forces and the city council and street whatever. So it was totally unpredictable for my, but it's a learning certainly and for such places. Organization and changed drastically just the 9 months before. So there were some scary weeks. We didn't know what's going to happen, but okay, we managed to get, and some good things happened also, that like we got a very good national controller, which was very valuable for the checking the maps and the printing, and got that thing working very nice. And actually talking with the maps, yes, now finally there had been issues with maps and print houses, certified print houses, so forth before. But during this project, I think the Italian Federation is clear now for the upcoming World Cup, JWOC and WOC, when it comes to the print house standards and the paper quality. Maps also were another issue, that maybe the drawing and the naming conventions and the roles and responsibilities were not clear. And I think we saw one example today in the mapping commission presentation. There was one substandard dangerous area on the map that caused a little bit issues, even a referral, which our referees had to take up. It was a nasty situation that went through the controlling process, and I think I must just emphasize the roles, responsibilities, naming conventions, so forth, good principles on the process. A knockout start. I think nothing was visible, but there were a start crew actually had not done any rehearsal for the start routines for the runner's choice. So there we were very close of losing the TV window, but we managed, and I think in the end, the worst what we could hear afterwards were that some first runners saw some little bit nervous start of officials, which probably felt and passed to the runners, but already from the group 2 forward in our quarterfinals, I think everything went smooth. Next, please. Well, the learnings, yes, the institutional partners like the city and this museum, right, all the right holders, so I can't emphasize enough. So we should get the writing, but of course I understand now they were hesitant giving the writing permits. But nevertheless, that would ease our organizer to let them focus on the core orienteering tasks. volunteers needed in this kind of historical and tourist-bound areas more than anywhere else. And also they need to comprehend what we want to do. And again, thanks for our international friends. You didn't need to get any instructions. You knew exactly what it is all about, and you managed to make it actually very nice and very smooth. But yes, for the future organizers. And also, where do you want to put this one? TV production, of course, TV wanted to have these picturesque areas, and I guess this is a unique sport, what we keep hearing. Not too many of other sports get to show those historical monuments behind our own arenas, so that's a value of its own when we're marketing our sport. But the discussion with the TV and arena must start on time, and I think that was also with the local organizer, didn't have enough people to have the dialogue. And there were some risky moments there. The office didn't know whether we get all the things in place on time, and how does it look when we come up to the stage. But yes, in the end, I think it looked okay. I must emphasize the Athletes Village is a very good target, and hopefully the future organizers aim for that. That helped us. We had the very good discussions and with the team coaches, runners, and organizers. In the end, we realized that actually we are making this event together, and the discussion was very good. So the lowered the tension and sort of help us reach what we wanted. And some of course often this English skills, or single language skills, to be more precise, is needed, especially in the critical moments. And I think in this event we had such a situation with this knockout sprint quarterfinal starts. The communication should have been easier with everybody understanding one language. One other thing I was happy to hear what Daniel Wolf mentioned earlier today about the tapes and tape standards. We actually had the similar cases, and we followed Daniel what you exactly recommended. The organizer had the pictures of the tape and mentioned that the model events were using IOF tape to indicate the forbidden areas. No matter how well that was made, and it was repeatedly in team official meetings, but still some athletes were confused when they saw different tape samples in the built urban environment. But I think that if we as an organizers, we're consistent with using the one standard IOF tape for indicating this, I think the athletes and the teams will get used to that, and makes our life easier. There were a couple of cases, and for the referrals for the referees, I think Aaron will take it up. I don't know today, time is up, or is that at a later stage sometime?
Yeah,
and
I will try to do it today.
Okay, this might have been my last page, I believe. Yeah. A couple of the things. Yes. The start order, I think we all understand this rule 12.7. So then in a normal random start draw, the federations are separated from each other.
Yeah. And sorry to interrupt you, Jari, but the first three will be taken care of for 2024.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Then the timekeeping is only one other thing, that it's one thing what I forgot to mention, that we were limited with the organizer was limited with the course options in the sprint final, was that the ski gate had to be used, and that had to be wired to the result system. So we were also considering remote start, but that was kind of a forbidden. So that reduced the options. But I guess this will be given everybody, so you can study what coming from EOC. Yeah. Thanks, Sarah.
You got a question which you answered in a slide.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah. Please forward. Yes, I think. Pretty much answered indirectly for this. First of all, this question is probably Aron Helke, more to you, whether IOF needs yet another layer of controlling. But we had the FUDO Commission map checking also in this project, and I think it has been through the season with the round 2. But yes, one criteria for the EOC was that we must not fail in this competition, knowing that we don't have enough resources what we would like to have, so we must plan everything most secure. And keep the TV windows we mentioned. Okay, fixed arenas to the institution partners agreement. Yes, we had to be in the place, so it's causing things. TV wanted to show certain monuments in the city, and the start had to be where it is. So and the lack of marshals. So all those things, and more is to tourist-bound area, like single legs in the sprint final, had to be pushed through without no options. This was the only way to let the runners coming from the anticipated direction and leave again equally anticipated direction 60 seconds from each other. That was the way to control the very heavy traffic. And that of course means that it was easy running in few places. Well, and like mentioned also that there was a serious try to have organizers more in place, so would have enabled a little bit more complex in the sprint final. And the other thing, also the qualifications were certainly easy, but the organizer also had the plan originally that the qualification races are near the finals with the more complex areas. But the city authorities didn't allow road closures or traffic closures other than for the finals. So then they had to be put out, and the competition yet to be kept on the same day. So that was a logistics, had to be very close, and there were just those a little bit simple terrains. But anyways, I think also that is understood now, and then maybe future the event rest days can be used more freely, so that may give chances to more challenging options for the qualifications also. And that is a request from the Athletes Commission also, since most of the runners anyways only running the qualification races. Well, this was in a fast forward at EOC. Please send me questions if you want to discuss more.
Yeah, thank you, Jari. I also decided to finish with the referee cases of 2023. I will try to do this in 10 minutes, so I will really rush through this. David Rosa has talked about this referee system, what it is. We trialed it for the televised sprint races this year, and this is on the screen what you see, what is the referee system about. So what happened in 2023? We had several cases in Czech Republic, which started with a case when the road crossing was not marked in the best way. So we did fix it during the competition. We also had one runner going into a building and then backing out the same way. We didn't disqualify him. We also had the competitor who should have crossed the road at a certain point, but the marshals couldn't stop the traffic for her, so she decided to use a different crossing point and lost considerable time with this, but no placing. Still, her world ranking score was affected, and it's not fair. Then we had one referee case in the Czech Republic, and this was a competitor missing a punch. We decided that there was no way for us to identify if she made this punch. And after the decision was made in the evening, we also examined several other facts, and we determined that she must have jumped that control. So the decision was a fair one. So going over to Italy, the other place where we tested this system, this was the first case. A course official closed down a staircase for around 30 seconds. This affected 3 runners. 2 of them made a referral. One was already mispunched much earlier. We thought that the other one didn't lose that much time to progress him into the final. The referral was rejected. Then we got another referral for against a competitor looking at a map in the quarantine. The Bulletin 4 rules were different from the IOF rules, and in this case, the IOF rules take precedence. So we just overruled what was written in Bulletin 4. And this rule is also changed for 2024, that you can use a map in the quarantine area. This referral was also rejected. Going on to the sprint final, we had a referral from against the coach who coached his athlete from too close and presumably from the competition area, but it was not, there were no tapes in this part. Here the referral came very late, after the 35 minutes after the men's race ended. We had final results by then. So we rejected the referral due to procedural errors and asked the Finnish SCA to ask the Finnish coach to not do it again. Then we had another referee case when an athlete ran through a forbidden area. This is actually from Shell's presentation I borrowed. She acknowledged that she ran through this area, but claimed that it was not easy to see. Her coach made a referral afterwards, in which they said that this area they thought was below the minimum dimensions, which we checked, and they were in fact right. And afterwards we decided to accept the referral, and she was reinstated. Now going on to the knockout sprint qualification. This was in the end a funny case. Someone saw a red and white tape in the terrain, in the place that is on the map. It's not easy to distinguish it from an IOF tape, and then he hesitated a few seconds before continuing. We found out that it was a local who put out a tape for like 30 seconds, but it was unfortunately when he arrived there. To make a decision about this, I and the national controller went out and made a photo of the area. But unfortunately, another runner came through. This other runner was only 2 seconds from qualifying at the end. So it was natural to say that this was an organizational error why he needed to stop and lose definitely more than 2 seconds. And we progressed him into the final, after asking the organizer if it was possible logistically for them to do that. So after that, we also decided to approve the Czech referral. Moving on to the knockout sprint quarterfinals, we had some missing punches. This was not a referral, but a referee case somehow. Runner didn't get a punch at the last control. And she accepted her disqualification. Knockout sprint quarterfinals. An athlete knocked down an SI unit to the ground. And the next athlete, a second later, didn't find the unit and continued without punching. And we saw it as an organizer's mistake, and he was given the punch. He didn't qualify for the next round anyway through his placing. And then the last case is a Finnish athlete didn't get the punch at the last control in either of his SIACs. From the TV pictures, it was clear that he ran next to the control, but no feedback was given to his SIAC. We didn't want to accept the punch since everything was in place. They filed a referral, which we rejected. And they were not happy about this. Sorry, can you mute your microphone, please?
Приеднался, не знаю, может быть, оно где-то там это, потом нам что-то прилетит. Там осталась буквально фигня, но...
Helge, can you mute his microphone, please? Thank you. So the conclusion was that the system worked well, much better than we anticipated. And it also helped the organizer. The proposal was to include this in the competition rules. And as David Rosen said yesterday, it is included in the competition rules, and not only for high-level events, but the IOF event advisor appointing body may decide to appoint also a referee team. And that's all. And that was the presentation. Thank you for listening to us for more than 1.5 hours, and we are open for questions. So if there are no questions, then I will hand over to Helge. I have spoken enough. Helge.